Welcome back to Hodgepodge. Today I'm in Setner School of Music with Jules, Struble, and Hidi, our vocalist. Thank you guys so much for coming onto the show. Tell me a little bit about your piece.
So every now and then the music school brings in professional musicians for, I don't know if they do this for the vocalists, I'm not a vocalist, but for the composers they'll bring in like a cellist or this time a vocalist to work with us, but this time was a little interesting, a little different. Normally we just write pieces for a musician who shows up so we can hear them performed. But this time we, Lucy Sheldon came to Setner to, I think, coach the vocalist, is that right?
Yeah, coach, well, more of a collaboration of both composers and vocalists.
Yeah, so it was a little different than what we usually do. So we paired up composers and vocalists and had each composer write a piece for their vocalist specifically, so for their voice, which is how this piece got started. I was paired up with Hidi as my vocalist, who is a mezzo-soprano. Next came the poetry search because typically
You don't do any writing. You search for something that's already been written.
Yeah. We set pieces is what
how you would describe it.
Yeah. So there was some time spent in the library browsing through the poetry anthologies, and Tsunami just seemed like it would work really well with those, with the rich qualities of Heidi's mezzo-soprano voice at the lower range, and so, and it was a good length. It fit. So I went about setting that piece, which was then performed, and then Hidi asked me to keep writing, to maybe turn it into a set. So I wrote another piece, and I'm possibly going to write another. But right now I have, that's the plan. Right now I have two.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Tsunami and Time Does Not Bring Relief, You All Have Lied. It's a long title, but I didn't write the poem. But yeah, so that's how that started.
And so here at Setner School of Music, you study
Composition.
And Hidi, you study?
I study vocal performance.
And you both plan on pursuing music professionally out of school?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What are your plans, Jules?
That's a good question. Well, you know that I also study industrial design, and so I've also been making instruments, and I want to compose with the instruments I've been making, but I also want to keep composing vocally. I have a lot of different paths I could pursue with different varying degrees of like music, design, so.
Jules has made her own instrument, and it's quite unique. We have decided to do a separate video on her instrument, so if you're watching this, check out that video. It will be linked at the end. And what about you, Hidi? Do you have plans for after school?
Well, after school, I was originally planning on going to grad school, but I'm planning on taking a year off and go back home in California and, keep taking voice lessons, keep doing auditions, audition for choir perhaps, but also definitely keep doing the contemporary song singing. That's definitely on my list, but yeah, that's basically what I want to do.
Is there any specific kind of music you would like to work with?
Specifically, I would love to work with opera theater, just any opera.
How did the text influence the characteristics of your voice?
So when singing these two pieces, the text just really fits well in a way that there's just like certain sections of the text where I can relate to personally, and that really helps a lot. So it kind of brings out more expression, and and because I can relate to it personally, it just kind of brings, I don't know, I can just see a whole image in my head of like who I'm talking to or who I'm referring to, or you know, just how, just like these objects or these images in my mind, like waves or like oceans or the tsunami or him, like I want him, I miss him. It just, you can just feel it. I don't know, it's just
It's very emotive.
it is very emotive. It's more emotive than physically being able to capture what's going on.
As a composer, I'm delighted to hear that.
Yeah, no, I really love the text that you chose, and it's only great because it's sad, and a lot of mezzo-sopranos sing sad pieces. It's kind of a thing, and yeah, it just, you know, in the low register with the high, it just shows off so much of a mezzo-soprano's range.
Well, I'm so glad that it fits a need then. I really enjoyed writing the pieces. I have a different relation to the text since I'm not performing, I'm composing.
Right.
I have to look for the spots in my life that I can relate to the text to. Well, that's what I do. And to me, I have some experience with grief, but where I really draw from for inspiration for writing these pieces is more from my knowledge of depression, which is, so that's the reference that I sort of put into the music itself.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a lot of elements that come into this. You're picking a poem that fits well with a mezzo-soprano, and then you're actually composing this piece that fits with Hidi's voice and also captures the mood of the poem. So you sort of you act as like a curator in some way. You really like direct how the listener views this poem, because it could certainly be like a certain amount of sad, and you determine that amount or what type of sadness it could be, because there's all types of sadness.
oh yeah,
right?
it's the emotional, like when composing these sort of pieces, having a nuanced understanding of
The different types of grief, basically. Is it like a nostalgia grief, or is it like an end of my life grief, or
Is it
a
a crying, sobbing sadness, or is it a defeated sadness?
exact? Yeah.
I feel that also kind of depends on how the composer writes the music. Like for certain notes, that can also mean different things. So, I don't know, the higher it goes, maybe it's a higher pain, or if like,
Maybe it's a mixture of feelings.
right, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, really got me thinking. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. It's Jules, Struble, and Hidi. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Check out my other videos and subscribe.